Hi guys, it's Sarah, the owner and creator of Multifarious Nature. Thank you for joining me today. If you are a returning viewer, thank you for joining me again, and I'm so glad that you are. And if you're new, please feel free to subscribe by hitting the subscribe button below and the bell so you'll be notified when new videos are posted. I try to post weekly, and I've been consistently trying to keep that up. So, if you're returning, you'll see that I've slightly changed my background. I'm still in the same room, but messing with the lighting and everything. So hopefully this will work out a little better. Last time I feel like things got kind of blown out a bit, so hopefully it'll go better this time. So the first thing we're going to talk about is shop update. So a shop update for Multifarious Nature is mainly a work in progress. So I'm going to speak about commission work that I'm working on. It's a custom piece that was ordered, and there are actually two items. So the shawl, which is the, I believe it's called, let me see here, Carolina shawl, and then cabled fingerless gloves, like arm warmers. So I finished the arm warmers, and I promised the individual that commissioned this work that she would be the first to see it finished. So there's a little preview in my last video, and that is gonna unfortunately be all you guys get to see until I get the items to her, and then I can definitely put a video that I'll record prior to giving the items to her so that you guys will then be able to see them as the finished objects. But I can talk about the Carolina shawl, because I am working on that still. And I've gotten a lot further, guys. Okay, so I'm trying to remember. Well, okay, here we go. Let me show you here. It's going to be a little tricky because now it's gotten so big that if I'm not careful, it will slide right off the needles. So this is a two cables that I actually put together. So I believe it's a 30-inch cable and 22-inch cable. And they're the Jagu interchangeables, so I put the little connector piece in there. So this is those two together, so it's huge. And I have my progress keeper on here. So that's Multifarious Nature Progress Keeper. It's a one-of-a-kind that I made using an old like marble bead. And that's where I was last time we spoke. And so this shawl is upside down at the moment. So the way a lot of shawls are made, not all, but a lot of shawls are made where you work from the center spine of the top of the shawl. So if you've got your triangle, that top portion there is where you start, and then you work your way out, building, and then, you're working, so out and down. So you're working from the top to the bottom. And yeah, it looks really good so far, guys. So the way this is going to work is the top portion, which is down here, will be, of course, straight. And you can see the beautiful lace work that's going on there. Creates a nice spine. Oh, I'm blown out. There we go. And then there's the lace work on the edging. This is a bulky weight yarn, and it is a merino acrylic blend. Super, super soft. Super soft. So nice to work with. What a pleasant yarn to work with. This is the first time I've ever worked with it. And I got it from yarn.com, and it's Valley Yarn, or Yarns. Valley Yarns is the brand. And it's the Haydenville Bulky. So I'm almost done with the main part of the shawl. So this is the main part, which is this beautiful dark gray. And then it's going to transition to a red stripe. That's going to be a decent sized stripe. And then there's going to be a navy stripe and then another red stripe. And this is the red. And just a disclaimer, none of these items are sponsored. These are all purchased by me. So it's a beautiful red. And this is also, again, that merino. It's 60% superwash merino, and 40% acrylic. So it's super, super soft. So if you have sensitive skin, I do recommend this. This may be a good option for you if you want to lean more towards a wool, but you're worried about the texture being, you know, tickly or whatnot. But this is really, really soft, so it should be okay. But I always recommend, you know, put it up against your neck region because this is usually where you're most sensitive. So, and then just see. If it tickles, probably not a good idea. But if it doesn't tickle, probably good. And I think this color, yeah, this color is called gray. That's the name of it. It's a really beautiful dark gray. And it's just the stockinette stitch. So, not stockinette, garter stitch, where you do knit, knit, knit. You just knit one way and then you knit on the wrong side, right side. There's not really a wrong or right side when you're knitting garter. So it's great. It's very easy. It's a wonderful knit to do, and you can do it while you're doing other things, and it's really what they would call like a mindless knit. You just go at it, and it's quite relaxing to knit. So I've been enjoying this quite a bit right now, and I've been working on that daily, so that's why I've gotten so far. So there is the Carolina shawl. And that is, I don't think I wrote who it is done by. Oops, my mistake. That is by, oh dear. Sorry about that, guys. I'll include the links below. The Carolina shawl. So it is a shawl that I got online, and just do your own thing, you know, manipulate it to however you'd like. So that's what I'm doing. These are colors that we agreed upon for the commissioned work. Okay, so now let's get into the other works in progress. So that is a Multifarious nature product that I am creating for someone on commission, and I will be selling that to them. The other projects I'm working on are selfish knits, and because I finished the gloves, I am allowed to cast on a new project. I always try to do only 3 projects at a time, so I did cast on another project. I still have the Leander shawl, and that poor project is one that's just going to probably take the longest time in the world to work on, because I pushed it aside, guys, and you'll see why. And I have to say, okay, so that superwash merino wool that is in that Carolina shawl is super soft and comfy and wonderful. So this yarn is a rustic. So the Pinewood sweater, I talked about it last week, and I showed you the gorgeous rustic yarn. It is Plutolopi, it's Icelandic wool. So I worked on that on my lunch breaks, guys. And in the evening, a little bit, I splurged and allowed myself to work on it a little bit. And in the mornings, because the mornings I don't have a lot of time to knit, so I try to do it like after I eat breakfast. So I've been working on it. So I've gotten a lot done. I would call this, a lot of people like to call it like potato chip knitting, where that's a term I've heard a few people say, where it's like you just start and you just want to knit more because it's color work at the moment. So the sweater is that Pinewood sweater by Andrea Yetman. And you may be able to find it on, well, I know you can find it on Ravelry. That's where I found it. But you could probably also find it if you go on the, I think it's Biscotte Yarns website. They are the ones that I guess they kind of sponsored this pattern. But she's the designer. And it's gorgeous. So it's Pinewood sweater. I'm using, I think it's deep wood or dark wood. It's either dark wood or deep wood is the main color, and then the contrast color is I think it's plum Plutolopi, and it's so pretty. And then I'm holding it double. So if you're not familiar with the Plutolopi, it's a single ply, and it's very delicate in this form. So when you're knitting, you're not supposed to really, especially if you're a continental knitter, where you tension your yarn with your hand, you're not really supposed to do that with it because it can break very easily. And I have broken it a few times. But for the most part, because I'm holding it double with lace weight alpaca yarn, so the alpaca yarn, it's Baby Alpaca by Valley Yarn, so same brand. I promise I'm not sponsored by them. I just their yarn is quite affordable and beautiful, like really nice yarn. So I'm holding the plum color of Plotolopi with a maroon or burgundy. I think it's called burgundy. Baby Alpaca lace weight yarn. So I'm holding those to held double, and then this is that dark wood with I think it's called bark. I'm pretty sure it's called bark. Which these like blend super well together. You don't even see it, but the burgundy color Baby Alpaca is so soft, but it's so pretty because it gives it a little highlight of that burgundy, which there is kind of that color in the Plutolopi already, but I feel like it just makes it pop more. So here you go, guys. So this is, you'd say top down, and it's so pretty, guys. So you can see the color work here. And there's what do you call them? Charts. There's charts. And you could omit those charts and just do the solid color. You don't even have to do the color work. I highly recommend doing the color work though, because it's so beautiful and it really makes it a lot of fun to do. So there is a part in here somewhere in this section where I did just mess up the stitch, not the stitch count, but the colors. But it was in this area where the coloring is just speckly looking anyway, so I just don't think it really is going to be very visible. So it's one of those things I did not rip back for it because it's not something that would bother me at all. There's some wrap and turn short rows for the back of the sweater, and what you do is you do a provisional cast on, which allows you, if you haven't ever done one before, which this is my first time, it allows you to, actually, you know what, I take it back. This is my second time. My first time was with the arm warmers that I made. But the way you do it is you put a provisional on, you knit a few, so many inches, and then you fold your collar under, and then you can knit into the beginning row, which is the provisional cast on, and you pull that provisional cast on off, and then it leaves, it's their live stitches, so you can then knit with them continually. It's a really rough explanation. There are a lot better explanations out there, but I just watched a YouTube video. Pearl Soho actually has a really good one for provisional cast on. I found that super helpful, so highly recommend that. And then that gave you this gorgeous double thickness collar, and it's a 1x1 rib, 1x1 twisted rib actually. So it's my first time doing that. And that's just that deep wood colorway. And then the plum. And it's so pretty. And I'm sure you can see why it's so addicting, because you keep alternating. And so the way I'm doing this one, if you're interested, there are multiple ways to do this kind of knitting. So the way I've been doing it is, like I said, I'm holding it held double, so it gives you the strength of the, because the Plotolopi is very strong once you knit it up, because when it's in the short area it's strong, but when you do it like this it'll break. And I've done it because I got it caught while I was trying to unravel it, and then it broke, and oops. But I usually tension my yarn. Okay, so I continental knit, and the way I do it is like I'll wrap it around my pinky, and then I usually go over, under, over, like that, and then that's how I tension it with this hand. Well, that's a little bit too much tension, especially with that Plotolopi, especially if you were holding it single. Holding it double even is just too much. I don't need that tension. So I still do tension it with my pinky, but instead I just go over all of these fingers and then knit, and that gives me tension. But like I said, I'm holding it double with lace weight yarn, and that just makes it stronger. And then because it's color work, the way I find it easiest to do is the two-handed method. So basically, I probably hold it the way like flicking would be. So again, I tension it. I first wrap it around my pinky, and this is my right hand. And then my pointer finger, I just wrap it around that. So I do it like that. Or sorry, that way. There we go. And I find that works really, really well for tensioning. And then I just go back and forth as I'm knitting. I find that works really, really well because and then I have the colors in the same positioning. So I have the ball for the deep woods on this side of my body, and then I have the plum color on this side of my body. And it works really well because Plutolopi is very, very sticky. Icelandic wool is very sticky. You can feel the lanolin in it, which is wonderful. If you haven't ever worked with it before, it's really nice because I feel it doesn't dry out your hands because it has lanolin in it, which is a great moisturizer, natural moisturizer. So it's just not as processed as other wools. It's not superwash. So it is more rustic. So if you have a sensitivity to wool that has that, like, I call it like grippy, like it'll grip, which is why it's excellent for color work. So good for color work because it grips and it stays, so you can really see the design. So that's why that rustic yarn is excellent for color work. But if you're really sensitive, maybe it doesn't feel rough to me though. Now around my neck, I did feel this a little bit more. I haven't worn it, of course, so I don't really know long term how that would affect me if I was wearing it for hours on end. I think it'll still be okay. Worst case, I have to wear a shirt under it. If that's the worst case, I'll still do that because I think it's going to be so pretty. So to give you an idea of what it looks like here, see if I can get it right because I've got the short rows, but just to give you a bit of a visual as to what this looks like because it's in the most awkward fashion since you're knitting from the top down, but here we go. So it's got the nice collar. It's not like a turtleneck, it's just a nice little collar, and here we go. This is obviously tighter than it would be when I put it on because I don't want to drop my stitches. So this is a 32-inch needle. I did have to go down a size. Okay, but that's because I'm using Plutolopi. So I'm pretty sure this is for a... I'm pretty sure it's for a medium weight, like worsted weight yarn. And Plutolopi is technically, I think, like between a light and medium weight yarn. So, because of the way I wanted to knit with it and to get gauge. So it's kind of, I don't know, it's a very unique yarn. So I think its fingering weight is maybe what the pattern calls for, and this is like a medium worsted weight. But it's a very light worsted weight. It's so bizarre to describe. If you can get your hands on some just to see what it feels like, that will give you a better idea because this is super lightweight, super light. And so when I knit with it, I did the recommended needle size, which is a size 6 and a size 4. So you do the ribbing in the smaller size, so the 4, and then you do the colorwork section and the body in the size 6. Well, I tried that. I tried knitting a gauge swatch. My gauge swatch, guys, is usually about an inch. I'm terrible. I'm really bad at doing a legit gauge swatch. I just do one to see if I'm on the right track, and as long as it is the right gauge from like a short, an inch by however many stitches they recommend, then I'm good. So what I did is I did a mini gauge swatch because I think they say to cast on 19 stitches or something. No, 24 stitches. 24 stitches. So I did 24 stitches with the size 6, and it was huge. Like it was, I think I got it at, I don't know, it was like an inch or so over the 4 inches. And I was like, well, that's not gonna work. That'll make a huge sweater. The sweater will be too big. And I actually want this to be a little bit more of a fitted sweater compared to the other one I made. So I went down 2 needle sizes actually. So for the ribbing section here around the collar and then the wrists and the base of the sweater, I actually went down to a size 2. I'm doing a size 2 needle for that, and then a size 4 for the color work area and the whole like body area. So actually I went down 2 sizes. So that just goes to show you really should do some gauge swatching, and it does not have to be like a gauge swatch where you do the entire thing. That's probably terrible advice. Do a gauge swatch, guys. It tells you to do it. I don't. I just don't. I do like a basic. Like I said, I will cast on the stitches they recommend for a gauge swatch, and I usually knit like a couple rows. I'm not even kidding, guys. Maybe 3 or 4 rows. And if that is okay, then it usually turns out okay, and it usually fits right. And if you get lazy and you stop, your gauge gets looser or whatnot, yes, your sweater will end up being bigger. And that's what's so nice about top-down sweaters, is you can try it on as you're going, and you can be like, okay, well, I like the way it's going, or I don't like the way it's going, and I need to adjust it. So I'm not a really good gauge swatcher, but I do a basic gauge swatch. But I think this is gonna look so pretty. So yeah. And the nice part, okay, so I have dropped stitches with this Plutolopi and the other like Icelandic wool that I worked with, which is probably like a Letlopi or one of those ones. And I definitely have drop stitches in the sense that they like slipped off of my needle. But what's awesome, like I said, it's grippy yarn. So what happens is if you were to go, oops, I dropped 3 stitches or 2 stitches, guess what? Your stitches basically will stay in place. I mean, clearly if you were to pull on your yarn, it's gonna get pulled out like any other yarn, but it's not just gonna pop right out. Like superwash, sock yarn notoriously will just pop out because usually you're tensioning it so much, sock yarn, to get nice tight little stitches. This is just very forgiving. I love working with this yarn. Rustic yarn is so pleasant, and I haven't ever worked with it before until I did my oversized sweater, which I showed in a previous video. And then this is my second time working with super rustic yarn, and I just love the feeling of it, the texture, the visual element. It's I don't know, it's so pleasant. This one you definitely have to work slower. You just kind of do, because you're very aware of the delicate nature of the yarn when you're working with it. Now this might just be because I'm new to it, but I just go slower. I go slower when I'm working with it, and I'm really enjoying that though. It doesn't bother me that it's going to take me longer to make the sweater because the process is so enjoyable. So there's my little spiel with Plutolopi. I wish that someone locally sold it. None of my local yarn stores here in Southwest Michigan, at least to my knowledge, I looked on their websites and everything, and I just didn't see it listed, which was a bummer because I would have loved to purchase from my local stores. But you can see this. Isn't this pretty? So it's marling that plum with the red burgundy color. So pretty. So I'm on my last colorwork section, or second to last, and which is going to make this a little bit more simple and repetitive once I finish all of that. But I think there's going to be more color work though on the sleeves because it splits for the sleeves. But I am using, so I'm doing, like I said, color charts, and I got this for Christmas, and I love it. So it's from Knit Picks is the company, and I'm sure there's other ones out there. It's a magnetic chart, chart keeper, chart guide. It's magnetic. So the way it works is it opens just like a little binder. It's magnetic on both sides, And what you can do is just fold your sheet in half and you magnetize the other side so it becomes like a little stand. And you can just stand it up on a table in front of you. For me, I just sit on the couch sometimes. But you've got, these are magnets. So this is one, this is one, this is one. So it holds your paper in place. And then you just slide it down the pattern to guide where you're at on the pattern. So I've done this section, this section. I'm working on this one, and then this will be the last one. And it looks kind of like ivy patterning. But it's just so awesome and so handy. I used to just like mark it off as I was going, but this is just so much easier and really handy. So I think it was pretty reasonably priced. I got it as a gift, but off of Amazon. They sell it on Amazon. And I'm pretty sure they probably sell it on the Knitpicks website. But yeah, I love that. And oh, I finished frogging that sweater. So I mean, I should have showed you the beginning, but it's my bad. I just started taking it apart. I couldn't help myself. So I made a really big crocheted sweater that I never wore for 2 years. And it was really, really big on me, like a dress almost. But the sleeves were kind of tight and it was awkward and I never wore it. So I frogged it and I finally finished frogging it. Sorry, I'm gonna make a little noise. I frogged it and I finished it today, and look at all this yarn. There's so much. So much yarn that I got from it because I knew there was a lot of yarn in it because it was huge. So I know that I can make another sweater out of it. It's just acrylic yarn. I think I got it at either Joann Fabrics or Michael's. I think it was Joann Fabrics. But yeah, it's this really pretty, like heathered gray, which I love grays, nice neutral. And I was initially gonna wash it and then use it, but I think I might just use it. I don't know. It doesn't seem to be that crimped because it wasn't knit, it was crocheted. And most of the stitches were double crocheted, so it's not like a tight little stitch. So I think it'll be okay. You really should wash it though and let it dry so it fluffs back up and then use it, but I think it might be okay. We'll see if I feel like washing it first. But I finished doing that, and that took me a while because I just did a little bit here and there, and it was just sitting on our dining room table, and I'm just like, okay, I need to finish this so that way it's not laying out there anymore. It's depressing to look at when it's not done. You just want to get it done, and it's very satisfying. I don't know if you've ever frogged something that you've never used, but it's actually very satisfying because now I know I can use that material on something else that I'll enjoy and cherish and wear all the time. So it probably will be another sweater since there is sweater's quantity of yarn. So that's probably what I will make with it, and we shall see what that will be. But like I said, I only work on 3 projects at a time if I can help it. And I have that shawl that I need to finish. It's a custom item, and then I've got the Leander shawl that I need to finish, and then I also have my beautiful pine wood sweater. So I'll get there eventually. And I think that is all. But yeah, if you guys have ever worked with Plutalopi, I would love to see some of your work below. If you want to post in the comments below, or a link to one of your projects on Ravelry, because I am floored with how much fun this yarn is, and I would love to knit with it more. And this is, again, that's the beauty of these projects, you know, if you just mess with your gauge and find your needle size, you can work with other yarns. You do not have to use and be confined to the yarn that is associated with a pattern. I mean, this yarn is a totally different gauge than the yarn that was called for in that pine wood. And I'm a rather new knitter, so, you know, you just have to play with it, mess with it, and you can make what you want with the materials you want with some patience. So I'm pretty sure this is going to fit okay. I would actually have to add the adapter and make this longer to try it on just to make sure, but So far, I feel pretty good about it. I don't think it's going to be a problem, and I'm excited to see how it turns out. So I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you're staying happy and healthy, and I hope you're creating any projects you're working on. Please share the information below. I love to hear about it, and I'm sure anyone who does follow this channel would love to hear about it too. So please do that, and I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. Take care. Bye.